In this video, I'll be replacing the front passenger side hydraulic engine mount and rear passenger side engine mount in my 2002 Oldsmobile Intrigue 3.5 liter dual overhead cam engine. I've got the rear one out already. And if you look by the CV joint, there's 3 bolts holding a bracket that the mount bolts to. There's the 3 bolts where this bracket goes to. And on the CV joint, you'll see like nudges. When you turn the wheel, you'll see that they'll be in the way, so you turn them in the position to where you can get to the bolts. See how like that it would be in your way? I'm gonna get a lot of comments about this. I put a 2x4 on the engine pan with a jack and jacked up the engine, and on that bracket itself, you pretty much know there's the 2 bolts, the top bolts for them passenger side rear mount, and on the bottom the 2 bolts right there on the bottom. Okay, I got the bolts off the bracket. And you want to position the bracket on your new mount exactly how it went on your old one. And there it is. Thread your bolts right on. And here it is. Got the bolts on, the right orientation, how it came off. And this old bracket, you can see how that is. Look at that. You can move that all around. In there and stuff. Busted off. It's supposed to be tight. Only the cushion of the rubber should have the little bit of the give. And also, when you're getting to these bolts, there's a little wire harness bracket right here that you need to take off. A 10 millimeter. And then the bolts over there are 15. The bottoms are 15s. Wheel hubs are 19. Tried to snake that right in there. Well, I got it in there. Just a matter of lining everything up. Two bolts peeking down through there. Well, I got it in. I found it easiest to start with that center bolt right there first. The center bolt right here. And that way you can maneuver it around. It's going to take some shifting of the engine to get it in there, but you'll get it in. And got all the bolts tight. And now let's move on to the front passenger side hydraulic engine mount. You just got to put this bracket back on with the 10 millimeter bolt. As long as I still have it jacked up, I want to check this mount here, the transmission one on the driver's side. And of course it looks like it'll be the easiest one to change, and it's in good shape. That's how it always ends up to be. Yeah, that one seems alright. Now for the front passenger. For this, you will need 13 or a half inch, 15 for these, 13. I put those there. It used to be those typical snap-in things that cars have, but they break, so I just did that. And you can see a bolt busted off down there. I haven't drilled it out or anything yet, but these three, it's an older car, 250,000 on it. I'm not too worried about that. You need a deep well one for this, and if you happen to drop it in there like I did, take a needle nose pliers and reach in there and grab it. Like operation. This one you don't have to take off, but to make life easier, have it loose, then you can move this around and this slides right off like this. I took these off here because that holds the wiring harness all in here. Unplug your fans. And this pulls out. Now this is going to be in your way, so you have to hold it back. I just have a couple of hooks. And just find somewhere to hook it. It's just to hold it out of the way. Not a whole lot of way it's going to pull anything apart. And I didn't really like this design. The fans are actually mounted right on the radiator, so the radiator is taking the weight of the fans. It's not a whole lot of weight, but still. Remove this bolt. It's located just under the frame here. And the other side, a little more tricky. These fans have 3 bolts holding it. There's one here, 10 millimeter. Here, I kind of rednecked, 7/16. And then over on that side, just like on this side I showed you, but only on that side, 10 millimeter. I can't remember the original setup here, but I'm pretty sure it was a 10 millimeter. Now I got all the bolts loose, and this is where the plot thickens. All you diehard fans out there. Now you gotta somehow get it past these transmission lines. Look at that. It wasn't that easy when I first did it. Another thing that needs to come off is this exhaust shield. There's 3 10 millimeter bolts. I got the 3 exhaust shield bolts out. And it just, nothing spectacular, just comes off. There it is. You can see my redneck job. Those 2 bolts there, and then there's 2 underneath the car I already loosened up and took off. And then before I did it, I just took those two off, and it was kind of hard. I had to move these AC hoses kind of a little bit. But I think the real way to do it is to take that bracket off. But ain't nobody. I got those two bolt nuts off. They're 15s that are right there and then there. I'm gonna go ahead and loosen the bolts on this rear mount that I just did, just so when I lift up the engine, it doesn't put stress on that mount. I jacked it up enough to try to sneak that out of there. And here it is. Before I kind of brought it over to here and took it out right here, because these hoses you can kind of move. Don't really want to work on these too much. Might snap and then you'll have no AC right here. And here it is. See, there's that redneck job I was telling you about. I have a couple of pieces of thick stainless metal thingies in there, because this is all loose and drops down this way, and it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be like this, all one piece. Well, I shifted it in there. It was kind of hard. Brought it through here. Just kind of, yeah, that's all right. We're gonna line it up, and then check the engine down. Hopefully it goes right into place. Yup, that's what we want. And there it is. I got the bolts all tightened, or the nuts, right there and there. Just got to do the bottom ones. And those are located under the car. Right there. And there. 15. I got them tight. Just gotta tighten them. And it's done. Put everything back together. Start by putting this side down first. It looks like after doing the mounts, since I had it jacked up, the engine was closer to the firewall. Now it's actually where it's supposed to be, since I don't have that makeshift mount in the front anymore. I'm gonna loosen these up and swing it over a little. Maybe I can just drop it straight in. I took these off of this cross member here and loosened that one there, so you can just swing it. put the bolts in the thread so I don't lose them. Let's see if I can just drop it straight in. And there it is. This is that one I was talking about that I had on the top. I just drilled a hole in one of these. Because the top of this is just aluminum right here. Figured it needs some more support. Like that, that's how I had the top one. Well, the fan's in, just we gotta maneuver this wiring harness. Now there's these little flip things or flaps. And see that groove on the top of the radiator? Well, they go in that. And it just fits right into place. Like just like that. And then there's this little clip right here. Clips right underneath of that. Like just like that. Since I have this off, this radiator bracket would be a little easier to get to. And they're exactly the same part. So you can put one on either side and just thread it just loose enough to position it where you need it on the radiator. No, you really don't need the crank on these. Just nice and snug. And tuck this harness back in there. Like that. And then these. The originals was clips, but I just put bolts there because they break. 13 or 1/2 inch on those. Same with these. And that one, 13. Plug the fan back in. Slide this piece in. The wide part goes on the bottom. $13 or 1/2 inch there. Same with this. And this one. Ready to put this in. $15 each end. And this one is just loose. Just so easier to maneuver that around. And we're all done. Put these back in, tighten this one back. Now for the victory test.